Hello Seawolves and welcome back to the show. So it's been another exciting 24 hours and one of my absolute favorite things in sailing is when we see a little bit of a duel, a mano come into being. And that's exactly what I think is going to happen in the front of the fleet. Now we see that Yoann Richome has been slowly but steadily catching up towards Sebastien Simon. Of course, he's being handicapped by his damaged foil. And it looks like over the next 24, maybe 48 hours or so, that might get into an actual head-to-head where they're going to be side by side. Yoann having a little bit of an advantage, of course, every time Sebastien has to switch to the side where he doesn't have his foil. So it looks like that could get very exciting over the next 48 hours or so. But before we get into all of that, lots of other things going on, of course. Also, let's take care of the most important thing of the day, the most important moment of the day, to just relax, have something nice. I hope you have something absolutely delicious in your possibly Seawolf mug. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Cheers, wolves. Yeah, so let's dive in right to the front of the fleet. I'm here on the Initiative's Cur website, a little bit better today with the tracker than the official Vendeeglobe one. And yeah, you can see Charlie doing well, nice VMGs, 18.4 over the last few hours. And well, he's hitting a little bit of a spot with a bit lower wind. So compared to the other two gens, actually over the next few hours, he might be giving away a few miles, but he's getting into good wind again right after this low here, and he'll be caught up by some more wind after also in about 5-6 hours. So I think he might have a chance to run away even further. But right behind there, you can see the current positions here. Yoann in position 3 and Sebastien in 2. But Yoann already right now on kind of the optimal tack for him, doing right now 23 knots, so that is pretty impressive. And his VMG over the last 24 hours, actual 14.5, but his current speed 22.9, so he is very, very fast. Sebastien, not slow by any means, but on average 19.8 and 19.1, and his VMGs 11 and 11.6. So 4 or 5 knots slower on average over at least the last 4 hours than Yoann has been. And yeah, you can kind of visually see it if you keep track of the tracker, that Yoann is quite quickly creeping closer and closer. And right now he's on a more optimal tack also. And yeah, if we actually use the handy prediction part that's in this chart, if I zoom a little bit out and we actually fast forward a little bit, you can see that the model predicts, number 1, 2 extra jibes for Simon here. Now that doesn't say that it's definitely going to happen, you know, it's just a prediction, and we know the predictions are not reliable, but you know, it is kind of like a quite accurate you know, option, let's say, for his optimal route. But many people have been asking me, like, what will happen with his autopilot? Are his like data statistics still up to date or updatable for the situation without a foil? And the answer there is kind of yes and no. I mean, he can't really change his polar on one side, at least maybe he can, but I don't know of any option in the software to sort of have half a polar on one side and half a polar on another side. So I posed this question actually to the team to see what they say. I haven't got an answer there, so maybe in the next episode, but it's an interesting question. But I do think that also the routing wise, he'll be a little bit of a disadvantage on the software hardware side there as well. And we see that Yoann, at least here, as far as the routing that Initiatives Cur is using, which I think is the predict wind routing. He has 2 less jibes in the predicted route right now. So that's, an hour, maybe 2 hours of less work, let's say, of less of changing side, and a slightly more optimal course. So I think that, yeah, by the 24-hour mark or so, and if we go a little bit further here in time also, that actually by this point, so here in the model prediction, it is still saying that Sebastien will be ahead in, like plus 32 hours or so. So like a little bit beyond like a day and a half of time. But I personally think that when we actually get to, sort of midway, not tomorrow, but the day after, that they could be head to head, or Yoann could have maybe already overtaken him, because it's kind of ideal conditions. Sea states finally, well, not normalizing, but are getting a bit more in sync now, a little less confused seas. And we've seen how fast Yoann can also be. We've seen him kind of screech through the fleet in earlier moments where the weather was kind of more stable. So he's very good at that. And so I personally think that the chance is pretty high that in 48 hours, Yoann is either going to be very close, and I mean like right on top of Sebastien, or he might have already found a way to actually overtake him, and they'll probably still be pretty close. But yeah, there's also kind of the other side of the equation where, of course, if you're being chased, so if you're in Sebastien's position, for me, when I get attacked or whatever, it always really motivates me like to work harder and to kind of like, destroy whoever attacks you. And so with skippers, there is always that kind of fighter, the wolf mentality of, hey, you want some, let's go. And I think that's also something that Sebastien definitely has. So it will be interesting to see that on the one hand, he's kind of working with the handicap there, but just like what we saw with Alex Thompson's, several editions before, when he also managed to finish second with 1 broken foil, sometimes a handicap like that can also really push people to get the absolute utmost out of what they can do, right? And so, yeah, this is something that I'm going to be focused on a lot over the next 48 hours, going to keep a sharp eye on it. I hope that both of the gents make some videos if they really get close together, because it could be an epic shot, to see the two of them kind of racing together if they are close enough. So yeah, could be our first like real front end duel, and it might take a while also to see how long they can kind of stretch this out. So it should be a lot of fun to watch. Well, then a few other things from the fleet that we should get to before we get to the overall tactical analysis. So Dalin made a new record, I already told you about that. Conrad having an especially tough time at the same time.
Hi everybody, it's been a little while since I made a video, and so it's been getting harder and harder to try and fit everything that's happened since the last one into this one. So I just figured I'd restart here. Right now it is blowing 35 to 45 knots. Crazy gusts are coming in, and still got the small generator up. It's a little overpowered sometimes, but mostly it's okay. But just I'm sitting here trying to work on my computer, my PC, and it's just to show you how hard it is to sit still. The motor is going 26, 27, 23 knots, and like all of my energy is just going into trying to hang on and stay safe on board the boat. It's not a negligible thing because I've got a black eye. I hit my face against the side of the boat when I was doing it recently, and split my eye open. Glued it back together with super glue, as you do. But it's just so hard to have any concept of thinking clearly and being concentrated when my head's just being scrambled by the speed by the waves.
Yeah, so that also kind of shows what I was talking about 2 days earlier for the Q&A, why he hasn't had time yet to do that, because it's just super tough. And interesting to see that even for kind of the non-foiling boats, because he is sailing a non-foiler, it's just, yeah, it's so epically tough to be in those confused seas that I talked about before. That is, yeah, it's genuinely one of the toughest situations in the whole offshore sailing game, to be in kind of a prolonged, confused, or as you say, like démonté in France, sea state. It's just horrible. Like, him being actually physically injured, so actually hit his head on the boat, had to stitch himself a little bit with super glue, stuff like that. What I mentioned also yesterday, he's not the only one. There are plenty of people who have like small bruises and bumps or small little damages all over.
So there we go. That's the damage. Not pretty. So basically I kind of pieced it all back together like a jigsaw puzzle. Hello, you're joining me on a beanbag on the floor, because right now the floor seems like the safest place to be, because if I'm already on the floor, I can't hit the floor when the boat nosedives. It's doing that quite a lot. So low pressure passed over us yesterday, and now the wind's from the south, so I dived, and we're in the most intense area of wind behind the low pressure system. So average at the moment is 35 knots. I've seen 37, 38. No more than that. I think this is probably the windiest bit right now. Sea state's really built up. So we've got over 4 meters sea state. And it's a wild ride, really wild. Overnight I did take the foil in just so I could get a little bit of sleep, because I was trying to sleep with the foil out, and I just kept being shunted from one end of the boat to the other on my mattress. It was like mattress surfing, but I mean, I don't really want to do that. So yeah, I had the foil in overnight, but then kind of once I've had a bit of rest, it's back out again. And of course I caught up with Roman, which is great. So I just want to keep a little bit of pressure on there. But this is a pretty extreme assault on the senses. I mean, it's not just the motion. The motion is hard, unpredictable. I'm being thrown around a lot. It's exhausting, just kind of permanently hanging on. But then on top of that, I've still got to trim the boat, I've still got to download weather, I've got to think through problems, I've got to make a strategy for the next few days, because this weather just keeps coming relentlessly, marching on. So, this human being is being stretched quite far. I'm about to go and do a deck walk, just to go and check everything's okay. I'm going to combine that with the weather download, because it's much easier to download the weather when the boat's flat. So I will take you outside and we can have a little look at the sea state. So we're out on deck now. It's amazing how actually the boat just calms down if you point it downwind, so I can have a good look around. So difficult. Look, there's an albatross there, look. So difficult to get scale here, to understand the waves and stuff, but I mean, whoa. Okay, enough of this. I need to check the boat and get going again.
There's just lots of small bruises. You can see them all wearing helmets. It's no picnic. It's really a tough sea situation, and lots of just small damages everywhere. I would say that, as far as situations go, it's really the worst of the worst possible kind of situations that you can have, like a confused seas for a prolonged period, both for the the personnel and the material to see is just very, very bad all around. So in that sense, it's good that now over the next 24-48 hours, at least for part of fleet, that is going to be calming down. If you jump in a little bit with me here, we can take a quick look again at the front. So you see that Charlie here kind of hooking in to the back of another load that just kind of passed them, and yeah, that's going to be heading out in front of them, and you can see that for now at least they're not going to be in no wind at all. It's still like pretty good, but it's going to be around like 20 knots or so, and much more steady direction wise. So that's going to like I say, for Yoann be kind of an ideal overtaking opportunity in that sense, that he'll be able to sail very steadily in some good winds, and I imagine that the sea states for them also will stabilize. If we go a little bit more back in the fleet, so this is kind of the moment now, we see the same thing for the group that has kind of Jeremy Bijou, and of course we have Wholesome PRB here, we have Paul Malott on Biotherm, we have Vulnerable, Sam Goodchild. We have Yannick Besthaven. So they're in fairly, I would say, good winds. It's not light, but it's like 19.5 knots. And if we look over the next sort of 20 hours, we see that that wind is going to be pretty much nicely going with them until about, yeah, also like 30 hours plus now or so. They will get kind of some lighter stuff. You can see it sort of coming up here, so they'll slow down. But at least for the next 25 hours or so, they're going to have pretty steady winds between something like 12 to 19 knots. It's a pretty big envelope, but they should also remain nice and fast, and their seas should also stabilize. Same for the group of Boris behind. So you can see Boris, we have Samantha Davis there, all the way up basically to Benjamin Dutroux, and also Roman Atanasio and Pip. They're all kind of ahead of the next load that's coming from behind for now. For at least the next 30 hours, they're all going to have fairly steady winds, some lighter patches, but no real no-wind situations.
Hi everyone, middle of the week, Wednesday, 11th December, the end of the 32nd day of the race. It is a day for great change after a couple of days of straight line sailing, where we made good progress in the Indian Ocean to the east. But we had a lot of fog. It was not possible to go outside, lots of water coming over. Today I have the first light wind section in a long time, and more than a week I guess, and that gave me the possibility to look outside, to look around the boat, to repair a few things, and to actually stick my head out and see a bit the ocean, which I really enjoyed. I managed to repair my shaver, which had broken, and I cut it open and connected the electrical wires directly to the electric motor. Really happy about that one. I managed to shave. I feel renewed, and yes, kind of a new section coming for me. Feels at least like a while of lighter wind sailing now through the night, through into tomorrow, and only slowly then we will find a new breeze from the north again, and do the next 3 days after that of reaching again towards the east. After that, nearer to New Zealand, we see a massive low pressure forming, but for now we keep an eye on it. There's nothing we can do about it right now. That doesn't affect our strategy yet. but it could later. It looks pretty big. But for now, life is good on board. It's a shame this beautiful day is already going to an end. I will now finish my dinner with chocolate dessert. Dinner was this basmati rice, really good. I also have plenty of oranges still left, so I can't complain. I need to look out for the ice gate tonight to not accidentally sail into there. That would be a big error. So a little vigilance there. Probably 1 or 2, 3 jibes to do. Let's see how it pans out. Maybe only 1 jibe. And yeah, the day was structured today with my long work list that I showed in the morning. I went through most of it, not everything. Things take time on board, even just putting on the big Jenniker, cleaning up all the cockpit, the ropes. Yeah, so into the night for me now. The light will disappear in the next half hour. And I'm wishing you a good afternoon.
So I think it will be a good opportunity after the battering of the last, 4 or 5 days or so, that they can finally really take some time, make the necessary repairs, do some sleeping, kind of get their stuff together again before the next low comes in. If we go back to the moment now though, because in the back of the fleet, and I know that many of you are going to be happy to see that also, or more happy, it's going to be intense. If we look at Yoann Richome, still right now leading the second fleet. His lead over Isabelle Joschke, still in kind of second place there, I should say, and Alan Rora in third, has shrunk a little bit again. So both of the foilers have made a little gains, but you can kind of see already that there's a pretty, dark red system sort of coming from behind there. And if we scroll kind of to the prediction here, you can see that that is going to kind of overtake the second fleet here, and you can see that at least in the prediction, that means that the foilers are going to now, hopefully for them at least, definitively go past kind of the non-foilers, and we'll finally have a chance now with the stronger winds for them to kind of separate themselves from the non-foilers and kind of create, their own little fleet ahead. That's at least what the prediction is saying. So. Alan Rora, Isabelle Joschke, Giancarlo Pedotte, and also Arnaud Boiseries should be able to gain some massive speed, and the delta is going to be something like 4 or 5 knots if they play their cards right for the next like 2-3 days when they have stronger winds, when they should be able to do something like, well, between like 3 and 5 knots more than most of the non-foilers are able to do. So that should be an opportunity for them to sort of get ahead. But, well, as you can see, it's going to get pretty intense, and we'll see most of them doing a similar maneuver, because also in a similar location as what the leaders, so Charlie Dalin and the rest were doing earlier, moving up, forcing them to go a little bit more north, forcing them to take a little bit of a longer track, let's say, to stay more safe and save their material, because they've had a pretty rough crossing of the Cape of Good Hope, but it was in like 25, 27, maybe up to 30 knots. But this time they are also facing kind of basic winds of around like 35 to 40 knots with gusts also up to 50, maybe 56 knots. So what we've seen in the front of the fleet, that's something that we're actually going to be seeing kind of fly over the back of the fleet now. And so we can expect similar bit of mayhem there over the next, 33 hours or so, as it's kind of, well, if we zoom back a little bit, you can see that it's kind of behind them now, and it's going to be slowly sort of washing over all of them over the next 30 hours. So I expect to see some pretty spectacular images from that part of the fleet over the next 30 hours. And also, they're going to be in similar strong seas, strong waves, high waves, sharp waves, so we might also see some more damages and problems in that regard there. And yes, that's actually it for the tactical analysis for today. So hope you enjoyed again. Thank you for watching. Of course, make sure to like, subscribe if you haven't already. We hit 34,000 subscribers yesterday, so another little milestone. We're almost up to 35,000, I would say, heading for 40. So thank you all very much for your support there, and I guess see you in 24 hours. Ciao, ciao!